Welcome back to Secrets Within. Tonight I have Brett with me, and we are going to talk about the Robert B. case.
Yes.
Yes, he was I'm just going to go right into it. He was a 13-year-old boy who went missing on November 18th of 2016. Then his remains were found on July 24th, but we're going to talk about the stuff in between those couple months. So, Brett, what do you know about the case?
Well, from what I've read, Robert, and I live right here in Pekin, and I remember when this boy went missing, but Robert was kind of his mom, Lisa, they didn't have a lot of money. So they were on welfare, and he had kind of a rough life. His mom didn't discipline him very much, and he ran away a lot, and he didn't like going to school. So he was also running away from truancy officers quite a bit. So he did a lot of wandering around in Pekin at all hours of the night. So
well, I do know in the area that he did live in, he went by the name of Bonsai.
yes.
And I want to kind of go into his mom's situation, as far as his mom giving him drugs, cigarettes, let him drink. She's just letting him drink, basically kind of just running his own life. I don't even know what, as far as I know that she inhaled duster with him. And like I said, according to reports, and I really kind of find this very believable, that she was a sex worker. And he was kicked out of his house numerous times to have men in and out constantly. And I know during the winter months when he was kicked out of his house, he had to go to the laundromat to keep warm. So I know, as far as the interviews with Lisa, she claimed, Lisa as his mom, claimed that she was not a sex worker, which again, he witnessed some stuff in the car. He was sitting in the back seat and she was sitting in the front, and I'm not going to go into great detail on what happened in the front seat with his mom. But we can all, go from there. But as far as his dad goes, I do know that his dad was in an assisted living home at the time.
I believe he lived at the Pekin High Rise.
Yeah, something on that order. But I do know that he was in an assisted living home, so he really didn't have that, male figure in his life.
No, he was an older gentleman.
Mm-hmm. And I do know DCFS was called on his mom numerous times for the conditions of the house. They didn't have water. Sometimes they didn't have heat. But what I found really bizarre was when DCFS came to the house, they condemned this house supposedly, but they were concerned about the dogs in the backyard and their living conditions. And the dogs were taken away, but they didn't want to take Bonsai out. She basically convinced DCFS to basically let him go to a friend's house while she cleaned it up. Obviously, I can't show pictures on here, but there is pictures of what the house looks like. And even with her cleaning it up, that wasn't clean. There were still clothes piled high. I do know that she didn't have a washer and dryer, so he did actually go to school smelling. And
he didn't get very many baths either.
No,
he didn't have water.
No, but I do know that he stayed with his sister, Stephanie. He would go over there, but she was claiming that when Bonsai was over there, he wasn't acting up like he was with his mom. So we can definitely determine that he was a product of his environment, most definitely. But I mean, I guess if you have a mom or a parent, I mean, and Brett, I know both of us are parents. First and foremost, we always tell our kids, you know, don't drink, don't do drugs, don't do any of that. So I couldn't imagine, you know, doing drugs with my child and thinking that it was okay.
Yeah.
But,
I can't imagine not having my kid take a bath.
Well, and you know, that's another one, not having running water or your house not being clean. And there, you know, animal species all over that house. I know that he had friends come over and they basically said, hey, I want to go home. I do know that there wasn't really much to eat there. I do know, according to his sister, that he used to get, I don't know if she beat him, that was just her account, that she's seen bruises all over his back because he wanted a piece of bread and that was all that they had to eat. And, you know, I'm not familiar of how DCFS kind of runs here in Illinois, I will say that, or any state for that matter. But you would assume that they would have taken him or placed him with his sister for the time being until that house was honest to godly clean. But taking the dogs and not a child, that to me just, I mean, a human life is, I mean, both of them, obviously, their lives are, you know, between the child and the, you know, animals. I mean, they're still live. There's, you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
But the child should come first before an animal. So the child should have been taken away before the animal should have been taken away. But I do know, Brett, you know, I think you may know a little bit more about this as far as him in trouble in school and running from the truancy officers.
Yes. He was doing that a lot. But you know, in a way, can you blame the kid for not wanting to go to school, going to school because he smelled? Because he couldn't take baths, and he probably got picked on big time for it.
Well,
I know it's not an excuse, but I understand.
But, and this is, I think, where our teachers, you know, in the school would have to come in. But according to his sister, when he was there, he went to school.
Yeah.
I do know that I've seen an interview with her that did state that, yeah, he went to school when she was there. So again, I think it's just kind of one of those things where he was a product of his environment. Well, let's get to where this gets a little sticky. As far as him disappearing on November 18th.
Well, I know his mom was dating a violent person because she had an order of protection out against him. So I know that.
They only had one way into that house at one point. Is that that's what I was understanding. But when he disappeared, she was dating a guy who was probably, I want to say, 18 at the time.
I didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah, she was dating a guy who was about 18 at the time because she obviously, for some apparent reason, was kind of hanging out with the younger crowd.
Was that the guy? Did that guy have the order of protection? Did she have the order of protection against him?
No.
No.
But so weird, and I want to kind of go back to his mom real quick. I do know that he had a brother that was taken away and was placed someplace else. That I do not know where he was placed, but I do know that he had a brother who was taken away. So let's go to the day he went missing. So There's been numerous reports stating that he ran from the truancy officers.
Yes.
Okay? But I heard that was a couple days prior. And his mom did not report him missing until the 18th. From what I was gathering, and this is most likely because he was constantly running away. I think he was staying someplace else, completely honest with you. And there was sightings, but I don't think he technically, I just don't understand if I mean, obviously we know that he's ran away a bunch. Sorry, I have a little bit of noise in the background.
It's okay.
My little one's up. So I do believe when he was running from that truancy officer, it was just kind of one of those things. I know it was before the 18th. So we'll just say, for the sake of argument, it was about like the 14th. So anyways, he had to have been staying someplace. Now, there's been a couple rumors. And honestly, and in my opinion, if you're going to run away, I mean, let's all be honest. I remember when I was younger, I ran away. I was gone for like 2 days. My mom found me very quickly. So it is what it is. But obviously, his mom's not going to go out and look for him. But I do know that she was due in court at the time that he was missing. But anyways, because of truancy. So anyways, we'll say for the sake of argument that he was missing, he went on the 16th. Now, question is, where was he staying? If he wasn't staying at a friend's house, where was he staying? So reports are claiming that he was seen walking around town. He was staying in a horse trailer. I guess from what I'm understanding, is a hunter found him, or seen him. I can't say found him, but seen him walking very early in the morning. That's just one account, but we can't guarantee that that's 110%. But I will tell you, I believe that he did see him. That's just that.
Yeah.
So this is where it gets sticky, because it seems like, and I hate to say this, but it seems like the crowd that he was hanging out with was older, and
yes,
they happened to be into a lot of drugs. And I don't know if you want to spin off of that one, Brett.
Well, I know he hung out with an older crowd because he would stay out late at night, and usually your older ones are the only ones up at night. And yeah, he did get in, since his mom introduced him to drugs. Of course, he went with what he knew. So, but like you said, when he was running from the truancy officer when he ran away from home. But what I don't quite understand is, why did his mom take so long to report him missing after he didn't come back for several days?
Okay. But here's, I guess, in my opinion, technically we're talking about a woman who is into drugs herself. And as a parent, and you know this as well as I do, when we don't have our kids, yeah, maybe there's been times when we're like, okay, we'll have a drink or two or whatever. But his mom just didn't seem like she really wanted to be a mom. She didn't care.
No.
She just didn't care. She was worried about herself. She wanted to party, and she just didn't want to be a mom. And I know that she basically, I mean, from what I'm understanding and what I'm definitely feeling here, is the fact that I think the truancy officer came, and she's like, okay, well, I haven't seen him in a couple of days, so maybe I should report him missing. And I think that that's exactly what happened, because we do know that he's been in trouble. I mean, he's not wanting to go to school. I mean, but at 13, who wants to go to school? I didn't.
Yeah.
I have a hard time getting an 11-year-old to want to go to school.
And then when you got a mom who doesn't make you.
Exactly. But we also have a child who, again, is just basically just doing whatever he wants to do. And you and I both know in the state of Illinois that the kids have to be in school. Otherwise, you know, the truancy officer will come to our door, which we get. But again, she kind of didn't care if he was there because she was, again, too worried about herself.
Yeah.
So at this point, she waited because truancy obviously came to the door. That's when she reported him missing. So the day supposedly she reported him missing. So this is again where it gets sketchy. Now he's hanging out with this older group of people, okay, and they're at this person's house. And here's where I was having a problem. Jerry and Keith, okay, I could not. Okay, Keith was actually a suspect before his remains were even found. Okay, so again, he was really good friends with Lisa, so of course Bonsai would be comfortable, I mean, clearly going over to his house. That we do know from what I am understanding, he was killed, well, we know he was killed, at Jerry's house. Okay, and this is where it gets sticky.
Isn't that where he was found too?
I believe so. I believe, you know, we'll get to that in just a second.
Okay.
Okay. So anyways, Keith has been a suspect since day one. So he was at Jerry's, from what I'm understanding, Jerry's house. And that's where it kind of went wrong. So at this house, which according to Jerry, this guy Jerry, I don't know his last name and doesn't really matter. We'll just go by first names today. He went ahead and said that his house would be a party house. When he left for work, because he worked midnight. So basically that house was partying from the time, what was it, 10:15 to 7 o'clock in the morning when he got home, somewhere in there. So he knew that this was going on. And he would have people come and stay at his house that he didn't really know anyways, which I find very bizarre. So they had this house party, and he is with a guy named Josh, Randy, and Kendra, and I am going to want to say Teresa. And she's going to be a big thing on that here soon.
Yeah.
But let's get back to Keith real quick. He did have a tent, okay? Remember, he sold that tent, and one of the ropes was missing.
Oh, nice.
Yes, one of the ropes was missing. But let's keep that in mind. One rope was missing. Now, he's at this house party with his friends, but this guy Jonathan brought him over. Now, Jonathan was supposedly seeing his mom. This is like the 18-year-old kid. So he's a kid. He brought him over there. Now, this guy, Josh, gives Bonsai meth. Okay, this is the first time he's ever done meth. Okay, so we're also talking about a kid. Bonsai was, you know, autistic. He had
12.
He was 13, somewhere in there. Yeah, 12. He had ADHD really bad. So I believe he had seizures. Okay?
Yes, he did.
So, story goes on is Josh gave him meth. Now, he got too weird, I guess, on meth. I don't know what meth is like. I mean, when somebody's high on meth, I can only imagine. But, so he got too weird on meth. Then, he pushed him down the stairs. Okay?
Yeah.
They said that they broke his neck. Well, his neck broke by being pushed down the stairs. I guess the stairs were pretty steep. Okay? Now, mind you, this is also a drug house. because that's where everybody was getting their drugs, is at this house. So then Josh goes downstairs with Randy and supposedly, basically, I don't want to say finish him off, because they should have called the cops, or an ambulance, I should say.
Yeah.
But they went ahead and basically strangled him. That is the theory. That is something that, again, if everybody looks at the documentary Ashes to Ash, I believe that's the name of it, on YouTube.
Yes.
You can actually hear interviews from these people that were supposedly there. Now, I watched Kendra's story. Now, that really lines up with what all these people are saying. But I want to remind everybody that if you do happen to go and watch this documentary, they're all they're all on something. Okay, it's not when they are actually talking about Bonsai and what happened, it seems like they were just too giddy. I watched something on his mom, and there was no emotion. And I don't know if you've seen that, Brett, because there really wasn't. It's just kind of, he's gone.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I've gathered. It's like, no more. I don't have to worry about it.
I kind of took it as her mom did one too many drugs and doesn't have any emotion left in her.
Well, from what I'm understanding, she went to rehab. Well, he was missing. Is that what I was understanding, or was it after that he was found? His remains were found.
I know she moved an hour south after he went missing.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that was for rehab. I don't know.
There was a stunt in rehab. But anyways, let's get back to the fact that he was pushed down the stairs, and Josh, again, went down and, like I said, basically
finished him off.
Choked him to death. Finished him off. So, now, we can all say, I don't live in Pekin. I don't live that far from Pekin. Brett, I know you live in Pekin.
Yes.
Now, so you kind of know, like, there's small communities kind of in Pekin.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that would make sense?
Yeah. You got different communities.
Okay. So, anyways, basically he's down in the basement. They pushed him downstairs, or Josh did. Now, here's where it gets sketchy. A lot of people say that, and I can say this, like, his mom said that she basically put him in something and threw him over the 474 bridge, whatever. Turns out that they put him in a cooler. I don't know what happened. Anyways, there was a lady, and I really do believe this. She actually loaned these coolers out to the people over at Jerry's house or whatnot. Okay. Sorry, I guess my internet's a little choppy. Sorry. The loan these coolers out.
Yeah.
And she's claiming that she's seen the cooler a couple days, or I think maybe the next day, because she kind of came out of nowhere, and I think it was her. She went by Andy, and she came over to buy drugs from Jerry, and she claims that she's seen these people downstairs. It sounded kind of giddy, yada yada yada, and Jerry kind of put his hand up, like, "Hey, don't, whoever's down there, whatever." Now, I believe that at one point that she actually dated a guy, and this is what I'm feeling. she knows a heck of a lot more than we think that she does. But she dated a guy that was downstairs, and I kind of believe that it was Josh. I mean, she didn't come out and say it, but I do kind of believe that it was Josh.
Okay.
Now, anyways, again, she said that the cooler that she's seen, like pretty much the next day, was covered in chains. Well, what would you need a cooler covered in chains for? I mean, that would, to me, raise the red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, again, remember, all these people that have given accounts have, they're all on drugs. So, there's a girl named Teresa, and she happens, I can't say she's my favorite, but I will say she's something.
Yeah.
So, Teresa loaned her van out to these to these guys, okay? And she's claiming that she doesn't even know what they're putting in that van besides, you know, Jerry's like, I've seen them put in blankets, and you think to yourself, you're loading out a van, there's a child that's missing, and she's loaning her van out and whatever. So she doesn't know why they need her van.
Isn't it amazing the Pekin police still haven't solved this case?
Well, I can see why. Okay, and this is why. Like I said, these people are on so much drugs that I think like a lot of it can be hearsay. Because again, Teresa is doing seances at Jerry's house, and she actually went with a friend, I believe it was Kendra, and she pointed out where Bonsai's skeletal remains would be found. Now, how would she know that? Mind you, she's claiming that she's got some kind of psychic ability. So she was lighting candles, doing a seance, and she went word for word about how he's pushed down in the basement. I mean, the way that, you know, his neck was, who went down in that basement, who basically, you know, made sure that he was dead, who put his body in a cooler. I mean, she went on and on and on. And when they were talking to Jerry, they asked Jerry, hey, has she ever had any abilities beforehand? And he said, not that I was aware of. But I will say the seance thing, that right there is pretty sketchy, especially when you point out where those remains were found.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let you take that one over.
All I know is that they were found at Jerry's house in his backyard, and the remains had been there so long and decomposed that they were all scattered out from animals and stuff.
But here's where it gets weird, okay?
Yeah.
They did search for Bonsai. There was a big thing on that, okay? They searched that area before.
He got moved.
Well, yeah, they were moving him. But my question is, why is it that the Pekin police would not search the home? If this is what's going on, according to Kendra, you know, this was a story that was given, you know, her and Teresa were having this conversation. Kendra kind of just lived there, and she's like, well, I didn't see anything happen. It was just all hearsay. Well, basically, it's all hearsay because, again, I think within their community, there's whatever they want to call it, I think it's just kind of one of those things that's just kind of circulating, and I think it looks good for them. But I really don't believe that his mom had anything to do with it. I just believe that she just kind of, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, his mom did it, his mom did it. I don't believe that. I don't believe it for a second.
She's just guilty of being a bad mother.
I think that's the only thing she's guilty of. you know, what do you do? But as far as her knowing who killed him, I believe deep down she knows. She knew who he was hanging out with, because she was basically hanging out with the same people.
Yeah.
She probably didn't know the day, you know, that he was going over there or whatever, you know, because now he's running away. So again, the area was searched. So that's where the skeletal remains. I believe that somebody on Facebook basically was following this case of whoever killed him. Okay. I do believe Josh killed him. And I, you know, I probably shouldn't say that, but in my opinion,
yeah,
the story's not adding up. Okay. So again, they searched that area. I believe somebody, whoever, I believe there was more than one. I don't believe he just acted alone. But I will say that I believe somebody was following a Facebook page, and then they could find out where they were searching for these, where the searchers were, where they've already searched. So then we're dealing with a cooler. Now let's be honest, in November, if he's in a freezer, he's okay for a little bit. But I'm saying, you know, when bodies start decomposing, they give off a gas that smells.
Yeah.
So that's why I believe that he was moved around.
Yeah, he probably was. I think he was.
Oh, yes, most definitely. And I believe it was kind of one of those things. They probably left him on that side of the fence. And of course, animals are going to come and get him. But I believe he was placed there. I believe it took a little bit.
How did the Pekin police not get any information out of tweakers?
Okay, well, let's go back to that because okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched a video on tweakers or anybody that's tweaking on anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, again, is their story, would you consider it liable? I mean,
well, not everything they say, no, because they ramble so much, but you can pick bits and pieces out of it. Come up with what you're looking for.
But that's the thing; they all had the same story. Now, according to the report, the autopsy report, it says that he was strangled.
Was it?
Now, yep.
How'd they get that from a decomposed body?
That's a good question. I was actually just about to ask that. That's a good question. Because there is such lack of evidence, because if you think about it, there's no tissue left. It's just skeletal remains.
I could see getting a broken neck out of it, but I don't see how they could tell if he was strangled, because you know one of the big things you can tell about how a person's strangled, not only by the marks on the necks, but they'll have petechial hemorrhaging in the eyes. Well, you don't have no damn eyes left after you're decomposed.
Well, see, you know, remember that rope we were talking about?
Yeah.
They found that rope next to his body, but that means nothing. That means absolutely nothing. My question is then, where's the cooler and where's the chain? Now, again, here's another theory. I think in a way that they got scared, they went to a house nearby, and could they have carried him over there? That's a good possibility. But I don't believe that he was sitting in a freezer downstairs in Jerry's basement, you know, for what, 6-7 months? There's just no possible way. Okay. No. I believe that he was moved constantly. And then finally they're like, all right, this is it. They've already searched this area. Let's just make sure that, you know, because if you think about it, they found him not that far from home at all.
No, only a couple blocks.
But my question is, why hasn't the FBI or whoever been called into this case? I want to know what the Pekin police actually have, because I don't feel like they have any solid evidence. I mean, in all actuality, if these guys aren't coming forward, but these guys are doing documentaries, what is stopping them from going to the police? But you can go and, have a documentary on this, and you can, I'll say this, I'll say this, I'll say this, I'll say this, but you're not going to the police.
My curious question is not the FBI, but so much the FBI. Why haven't they been called in? But why haven't the Illinois State Police been called in? This is a matter for the state police.
That is a good question. Yeah, that's true too. But I guess my question would be, why is Pekin police just so dragging their feet? Is it because of the fact that, and I hate to say that, is it because he was poor? And was it because they just didn't care? And I really believe that it's just because he was poor and he was a troublemaker.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
They did call him a nuisance.
I don't have another one. But he's 13 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking about a 13-year-old boy who was able to do whatever he wanted to do. He was doing drugs. The first time he's doing meth. His mom's letting him drink, smoke. She was buying him cigarettes. She was buying him, alcohol. So what did she expect from him? What did anybody else expect from him? But then, again, if his teachers knew that there was no washer and dryer and he's coming to school smelling, wouldn't they have said something?
That's what I'm amazed at too, is the school didn't intervene. If he's coming to school dirty and smelling, why didn't they intervene? Because my kid one time went to school and her boyfriend's dad duct taped her legs goofing around. And when they took the duct tape off, it took the first layer of skin. It left a mark. And I'll be damned if I didn't get the DCFS called on me and had to go through a world of crap over duct tape on my daughter's leg. And this kid goes to school unclean, smelling, and everything else, and nothing. They don't do nothing.
See, that's the problem. And then when he's getting into fights, he's the one getting blamed. Well, again, I'm not sure what school he went to, but again, DCFS knew what was going on in that home. They knew the condition of that home. And I believe that if they would have intervened when they were supposed to, they took the dog, but they wouldn't take him. How did Lisa convince them to say, okay, we're going to go stay at a friend's house. I'll get this cleaned up. And they come back in a couple of days and it's still a mess. It's still not livable. So DCFS doesn't sound like they were doing their job either. It sounds like they just kind of pushed it under the rug.
Yeah, the whole ball got dropped on this one.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I believe if DCFS did their job, he'd still be alive today.
I think if the school systems would have done their job too, he'd be alive today.
Well, but then my question is he was doing so good when he was living with his sister. Okay, so good. But here's where the issue comes in. Lisa was getting state money. She didn't want to lose that. Okay, so why can't really live with his sister? Because if they found out, I would assume that she wouldn't get any more assistance. But again, why didn't DCFS say, hey, go live with your sister, get your stuff together? Because at 13, I do believe that the difference between right and wrong, whether some of these people do that or not. And I understand you're a product of your environment. And kids act up with their parents more than they will somebody else. We do know that that's a proven fact. So, again, I wish I could show pictures of what that house looked like, because like I said, taking dogs, but not taking an actual human being out of that house is bizarre. You have to admit. DCFS will call somebody for dogs, but they won't take a child out of the home. Now, here's another thing. The school's already getting called because he's not going to school. The truancy officer's been called, she's been to court, this has been an ongoing thing. Again, why didn't they then take him out of that home? They have the power to do it. I mean, the school obviously intervened when he wasn't in school.
I don't know.
But then this is the question that I feel like I can't answer, and I've been racking my brain on this one. His sister's not dumb, okay? And if he's staying there, why didn't she intervene? Why didn't she say, you know what, stop, you're not going to do this, you're doing drugs, you're going to get your shit together. Let's just put it that way. Why didn't she step in? She only stepped in when it was convenient for her and when he said that he wanted to be there. Well, again, I know she's, probably her 30s or 40s, but again, step up, do something. If that's the thing. There were so many people around that actually could have done something, but they just didn't. It's like they just didn't care just because he ran away and he was supposedly a bad kid. He wasn't a bad kid. He just didn't have any structure at the end of the day. So we can say that his remains were found. Again, we are dealing with people that are on meth that have this story, and I do believe that there was a cooler with chains. I don't believe that I think he was in a deep freeze for a while downstairs, but I do believe that he was in a cooler with chains. Like I said before, and I really hate to say that, I don't believe they just took the deep freeze from place to place. Deep freezes they're pretty big.
Yeah.
But think about it, I mean, I could fit it in a little cooler. Brett, you could too, but I'm not going to even try. But here's another thing. Let's be honest. That's going to be a lot of dead weight, especially to move around.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of dead weight to move around. So wouldn't it be easier to put them in a cooler?
Oh, definitely.
That's wrapped in chains. And honestly, if you're sitting there on meth, you're not thinking about what the smell is going to be like. You're just thinking about how to get your butt out of trouble. But like I said, all of these people in this little community all have the same story. And I do believe that's exactly how it went down. I do not believe that his mom had anything to do with it. And I know a lot of people out there are like, oh, his mom, she didn't act right. No, she didn't. In my personal opinion, if my kid was missing, I would have been a nervous wreck. I wouldn't have been calm. I wouldn't have been laughing. That's not a laughing matter. But again, we can't tell somebody how to act when, somebody's missing.
Yeah.
So, but again, he's hanging out with the wrong crowd. And in my opinion, I believe Lisa is one of those people that had this tendency to push drugs onto people. And I believe that, a 13-year-old boy, peer pressure is everything when you're hanging out with adults.
Especially coming from your mom.
Drugs.
Especially coming from your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Even more so.
Okay, but I guess here's where I'm having having a problem. Obviously, if his mom was doing sex work, so obviously she's getting money. So obviously she is supplying all of that. But
yeah,
again,
but she can't pay her water bill.
Stephanie was paying the water bill. His sister was.
Was
trying to, anyways. She was. But and I know a lot of people were like, Keith was, like I said, what's the word I'm looking for here? A suspect at first before his body was found. But honestly, I think he was, I don't think he really had anything to do with it because he was in jail for a while. And I know when Bonsai went missing, he did skip out on bond. And I believe he was found in North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, they brought him back. But I really don't think that he had really much to do with it. But I do know that where Bonsai's remains were found, and I kind of just believe they kind of just, and I do understand like the animal situation where, they're on this other side of there's some body parts on one side of the fence, another part is found on the other side of the fence, and it was an area that he knew. It was an area that he actually mowed, which I find odd. But again,
I believe there's even body parts.
Body.
I believe there's even body parts found in the ditch by the road.
I believe you're right on that. Because I do know that his remains were scattered. It was all skeletal, and I know it took him a couple of days to, get his dental records back. But again, here we are with just remains. But there's a lack of evidence in this case. And like I said, you can't really interview somebody who is kind of tweaked out on meth. I mean, they're very honest about it, but they all have the same story about how he was pushed. And I do believe that he was pushed. And I don't believe his mom had anything to do with it. I think she knows who did it eventually, because in a smaller community, and I live in a smaller town, and word gets around really fast, and rumors get started. I believe that that's how it went down. And I believe that Teresa knows a lot more than she is leading on. First off, you don't want somebody to use your van. And then we have Jerry, okay, who is working nights, and he knows it's a party house. He's letting random people stay at his house. What did you think was going to happen? And all you get is, well, I would, if I was there, I would have done this, I would have done that, and I made sure he wasn't doing this. It wouldn't matter, because at the end of the day, he's still doing the same thing. He's still doing drugs just as much as everybody else is. Which, but he actually, his story lined up. He was not there. But again, why didn't some of these people, for an example, Kendra, for an example, has the exact same story. And I did watch the thing, and she was, the whole time, she was just out of her mind. But the question was asked, why haven't you gotten to the cops? Well, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You don't have an answer for that? Again, why hasn't anybody gone to the cops with what they know?
They're all on drugs.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to go to the police station either if I was on drugs.
Yeah.
But again, obviously his dad passed away, as far as that was, and he was in and out. And like I said, we got just, again, I really do Pekin police. They're really not doing their job, because again, he wasn't of a certain class. Well, realistically, and I've noticed that more and more with some of the cases that I've looked into, that's kind of how it is. It's like, okay, it's one less, kid that I have to deal with, that's, causing trouble. Let's just be honest. Regardless, it's still a life. But again,
it's really too bad.
Okay. Anyways, anything else you want to, add to this? Because, like I said, there's so much to it. And at the end of the day, everybody is not going to give up. And I do know that there's been protests, right? Is that what I was understanding, Brett?
Yeah, they've been protesting the police station to solve his case. They just protested there not even that long ago, maybe like a week ago. They did it at the Pekin police station.
and I know that everybody wants justice for Bonsai. I mean, I do too.
I do too.
And like I said, I think Teresa knows. I think she was there. She, in my opinion, I believe she knows exactly what's going on. I believe she helped move that body.
She probably did.
I don't, nobody's going to, that's just in my opinion. And just kind of what I'm feeling. I really do believe that she really did help move that body. I believe she was there. She knows exactly what happened. And she knew what that van was getting used for. She knew that van would be used to move a body or a freezer. I mean, I don't know how big a freezer could be. I guess if you crunch the body in there, I mean, now that I watch way too much Deadly Women.
Well, for a 12-year-old boy, it wouldn't have to be that big.
No, it wouldn't. But like I said, I believe and this seance thing, I think she's just kind of trying to go with that because of the fact that she knows more than what she's leading on. And I do full-heartedly believe that she had a hand in this as well. She had a hand in moving his body. She knew exactly how he was pushed down the stairs, exactly what happened to him in that short amount of time when they went down there, and where his body was, where it was moved. I mean, it's just, the list goes on.
Yeah.
So again, I believe that she knows, and I really do believe that the Pekin police should, definitely check on that one there. But like I said, because Teresa was telling Kendra, this Kendra girl that, randomly is all over the place tweaking out of her mind, all these stories. And then on top of it, at the end of the day, all of these guys, all these group of people, that are doing drugs, again, like I said, they have the same story, okay? But it all seems like he said, she said, whatever. But again, we do know that Jonathan supposedly brought Bonsai over to this house, and they just didn't like the fact that he wasn't good on meth. That was the first time he's tried it. And I do believe he was pushed down the stairs. And I do believe that they did, after that, they kind of did choke him. But that's where it gets sticky. And I know Brett explained that to you guys. Because again, it's just skeletal remains. But those stairs were steep. It's a cement floor. If you hit your head, and I can't even say how many steps it was, if you hit it hard enough, you're out. I mean, could have cracked his skull. I mean, I don't know. I didn't read the whole autopsy report. I don't know if you have, Brett.
No, I haven't.
No. Okay.
I can't say.
No, but you're on the same lines as kind of what I am.
Yeah, I can't say though. I mean, if it's any size, normal size basement, I can't say if it's a normal size basement, it's going to be 10 to 12 steps for your basic basement.
Well, I did see how steep those stairs were, because I did take a look, because they actually showed what the basement looks like. There is a lot of compartments in that basement to actually put a freezer, or because she was looking for the freezer. I think there was one down there, but again, if I was the one investigating it, me, Brett, you've been on investigations with me, and I would have looked because I'm nosy. Okay, you know this. I've been on investigations with you. You know me. So anyways, like I said, there was a freezer down there. Look, but there was many rooms down there where there could have been a different freezer. But again, I think they just kind of hauled his body up. I believe they kind of put him in the back of that van. And I believe Teresa knew what was going on. And according to Jerry, he's like, oh yeah, I seen him throw these blankets in there, and I didn't think anything of it because they steal all the time. Well, I mean, clearly you know that a boy is missing. Figure it out. I mean, and you know the stories that surrounding that. So, I mean, he's kind of partly to blame too. I mean, none of these guys have gone to the police with it. But I do highly recommend everybody doing or watching Ash to Ash documentary if you guys want to know more. We only got like 5 minutes. It is a good documentary. It is, and Ash does a lot of other unsolved cases. And, you know, we only have so much time tonight, but we want to kind of give you a rundown. And if anybody has any information on this case, definitely call the Pekin Police Department. I don't know what their protocols are now with COVID or whatnot. Just call. I know you could probably make an appointment. But definitely, if you have any information, call the Pekin Police Department. And if you guys do get a chance, if you guys want to know more, go to Ash on YouTube. She kind of breaks it down. She interviews these people, and definitely for yourself, make your own assumption. I have mine. I know Brett's got his, and again, a lot of people out there will. So that's that. You want to add anything real quick, Brett?
I can't think of anything except that I hope if somebody's watching this that if they do have information that they do go to the Pekin Police.
Right.
Because I mean, that poor kid, you know, he didn't deserve that.
Regardless of a runaway or not a runaway, or a troubled kid or not a troubled kid, no kid deserves that. Okay.
Well, you know, even if he's a troubled kid, he can turn his life around. A lot of troubled kids have.
Yeah, they have. But again, we can definitely say that he was a product of his environment. And there's a lot of people I believe to blame in this case. I don't think though just one person is, you know, guilty. I think there's a lot more than just a handful of people. And like I said, I know a lot of people are saying his mom probably did it. And Chris actually just said this could be an unsolved case. And I think at one point, maybe we can come back to it if, you know.
It ever gets solved?
Oh, I'm hoping it gets solved. And I believe it'll get solved. And I know Ash on the documentary has made appointments with Pekin Police. So to try to give the evidence that she has. But like I said, if anybody else has any, you know, anybody else knows anything, please call the Pekin, Illinois Police Department. And, you know, even if it's just an anonymous thing, just call in and, you know, do what you got to do. Yeah. So I'm going to wrap it up tonight. Thank you, Brett, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was.
We'll do it again sometime.
Yeah, we'll have to pick another case.
Yes. I love unsolved cases. So I hope everybody has a great Friday night, and I will talk with everybody again soon.
Okay.
All right. Bye.